Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment of our program brought to you by Calhoun's. If you're already thinking about where to take the family on Easter Sunday, think no more. Just go ahead and dial up Calhoun's today. Make your reservation at any one of the 9 area Calhoun's spots. They set a tremendous holiday table, I assure you of that. April 21st is Easter. April 21st, heck, every day in between. Calhoun's, the taste of Tennessee. Want to welcome in 2 more members of today's panel. We have right here Mark Pancratz, who's of course a former UT assistant coach and played NCAA Division I basketball at Milwaukee. And right here we have Mike Strange back with us again.
Good morning.
Mark, I thanked you for a good year of basketball coverage last week, and all of a sudden you're back. So there must be news, and there was. Jordan Bone made his announcement that he would be looking at the NBA draft. It wasn't what Schofield did last year. For those who are like, well, Schofield tested the waters. Schofield didn't put out a tweet basically thanking people and saying, I'm really looking at this, I'm putting everything into this. People who've talked to him seem to think that he's more interested in making a move whether he's a second-round choice or not. To me, doesn't sound like he's just testing the water. Sounds like he's ready to roll. You agree with that?
Well, I think if you are going to test the waters, you got to go all in. You got to let the NBA people feel as though that you're going to give it your all and you really do want to go in. And he could be one of those guys. You know, you saw Villanova had a guard last year that went into the NBA workouts, had extraordinary workouts, and just blew up the draft boards. People didn't think he'd get drafted. He ended up getting drafted. That could be Jordan Bone, but I still think he'll end up coming back. I think he's got to improve his jump shot. I think he's got to show that motor consistently. I mean, you look at the draft boards, top 100 players eligible for the draft, he's not listed. There's a point guard ranking system where there's 17 other point guards that are ranked ahead of him, even one from Furman, teams that are players that you wouldn't even recognize. So it's an uphill battle. But I think if you are going to announce, you got to be all in.
Only takes one team to fall in love with you, though.
Yep.
Your guys' thoughts, let me ask you, do you think the Josh Richardson situation might be weighing into this? Because when you look at Richardson, here's a guy that went the second round, 40th pick overall. I don't think anyone here, he didn't start the year with the Miami Heat. He had to go to the D League at that point. I guess it's the G League now for the first 10 games or so. Signs, gets better. Now he's sitting on a 4-year, $42 million contract. Mike, do you think that he might be looking at Richardson saying...
If I were looking at the Josh Richardson story, I'd look at how much coming back for his senior year did for him. Josh Richardson was not going to get drafted after his junior year. Coming back for his senior year just changed his outlook entirely. So that's how I would think Josh Richardson impacts him.
Rather than second round would make you money, okay?
Yeah, I think making a lot of money.
So you guys agree? Do you guys agree he's coming back? I was surprised.
No,
Maybe
I
I'm
think
the only
going.
person who was surprised at how vocally he was about.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's coming back, but
I would be surprised if he does come back.
That's
Me too.
okay.
But based on his quotes.
Yes. Yeah.
Based on what he said. Now, and look, obviously I'm not an NBA scouter. He's not the 17th best point guard in the country. He's a lot better than that. And I think he's the best NBA prospect on Tennessee's team because he has elite speed. He had a really good assist-to-turnover ratio. He can hit a pull-up jump shot when he drives. So I think he's ready to go. And if you're ready to go and you're not committed to Tennessee, you probably ought to go. But I'm kind of with Chuck. I'd be surprised if he comes back.
Yeah. Last week we did a segment. We're going to redo it here, where we said, well, let's look at next year's roster, and we all kind of agreed Williams and Bone are back. I didn't necessarily agree 100% with that. I don't think Williams or Bone will be back personally. I think they're both gone. We'll see. Maybe you're wrong. Maybe they'll both be back. But I'm more like Chuck. And if I was on this camp, I'm now in the other camp because the way he went about it was different than – I bet you Grant Williams doesn't come out and put a Twitter video out like this. Just my guess.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the statement was just, I'm going to, declare for the NBA draft, and I'm planning on staying in.
Yeah.
It's just not like just like you said, I'm going to test it, and maybe he's reached the point where for him it is time to move on.
But the biggest thing is you've seen the part where the guys that are planning on staying and they're all in, they're signing agents. They're in their announcements. They're saying, I'm also signing an agent because now they're going to go out and publicly try to help them get a better position. Right. He's not done that, so I think there is still a good window.
And maybe he finds out from doing this that maybe right now the timing is not the best to try the NBA. Maybe Tennessee improves the roster some, and those two things could influence him.
Well, there's also a rule change now that if you're not drafted, you can still come back.
Yeah.
My question for you, though, if you're UT, are you going to wait till the draft in late June? I mean, if Josh Bone acts like he's gone, aren't you going to have to hit the grad transfer market pretty hard right now? Can you wait till the end of June to let him say, you know what, I'm back after all? I know you're not going to say the door's closed, get lost, but that would make it very difficult on Rick Barnes, wouldn't it?
Sure, it absolutely puts coaches in a tough position, but you're not going to find a caliber of a Jordan Bone on any sort of transfer wire,
transfer
JUCO,
portal.
anything like that. So you're going to try to find a way to make sure that his spot is.
But is there a different deadline academically as well? I mean, would that be sooner than June that needs to be met in order to be enrolled? And no, I'm just asking.
I don't
No,
know.
he's fine.
Maybe he's just ready to go play ball in Europe if he has to. You know, who knows?
See, and I could see Grant Williams. Now, Grant Williams is more of a lock to get drafted in the first round. But
Yeah.
Williams is a kid, for example, always looking for new experiences. I could see him saying, Paris would be nice this time of year. Then I'll go to Athens and I'll work my way back. Some of these guys may be ready to go make $250,000 a year or $150,000 a year playing in Europe.
Well, and there's a lot of moving parts. You know, the roster piece of it. Josiah James, how does that impact Jordan Bone? How does it impact the style of play with all these guards coming back? The lack of interior guys. How does that affect Grant Williams?
Yes.
The new NBA draft rule where they're going to allow freshmen to be or high school seniors to go straight into the MA. Does that get switched over so now next year freshmen can get in the 2020 draft? Now that puts more people available to draft and push guys out. So there's a lot of moving parts to it. I don't think it's as easy as am I ready, am I not?
Right.
There's other pieces to it.
But I'll also say this, in terms of 17th ranked point guard or whatever, it only takes one team to fall in love. He doesn't need 30 teams to love him. He needs one.
I'd like to find out who those other 17 are.
And
I don't believe that.
Here's the other piece of it, though, too. NBA, even look at college basketball, that three-point shot. And Jordan Bone is drastically improved. He was 41% in conference play versus 35% overall in the league. He's drastically improved. But Grant hasn't shown he can shoot college threes at a high level. And can Jordan Bone, now with NBA three moving back, where is that at? The NBA is really pushing towards that three ball. Neither one are great three-point shooters.
All right, well, I'll tell you what. Again, we toyed with this.
back.
We toyed with this last week. I'm not going to let you say he's back. In the next we did that last week. We projected next year's lineup, assuming both of those guys will be back next year. I'm taking Bone off the table. If he doesn't come back, what will the lineup look like? And if Williams doesn't come back, can we even make a lineup over there? Coming back on the Sports Source.